They didn't just trespass on my land, they carved a trench straight through my grandfather's resting place. His bronze plaque was flattened like a beer can under a backhoe, diesel fumes rolling across the meadow where I scattered his ashes. And when I confronted the HOA president, Vivian Stroud, she didn't even look up from her phone, just kept scrolling, acrylic nails clicking, and said, "Show me a death certificate. Ashes aren't legally interred." That was the moment I knew she'd made a fatal mistake. My name's Marlo Coltrane, but folks call me Marley. 3 years ago, I came back to Fremont County, Wyoming, to the 240-acre ranch my grandfather homesteaded in 1948. He built it all himself, the barn, the windmill, the pastures. Taught me to read survey maps at the kitchen table when I was 9, his calloused finger tracing property lines like they were sacred scripture. Land doesn't lie, Marley. People do. When he died in 2019, I brought his ashes to the southeast pasture under a cottonwood grove. No headstone, no ceremony. Just me, the wind and meadowlarks singing. I'd spent 15 years in Denver as a paralegal specializing in water rights. Good money, bad marriage. By the time I got divorced, I was hollowed out, so I came home. Started rotational grazing, planted native grasses, tried to let the land heal me. And it did, until Ridgemont Estates showed up. Ridgemont was a monstrosity, 3 miles east, 200 homes, a fake lake, an 18-hole golf course in a desert that gets 12 inches of rain a year. McMansions selling for $850,000, green lawns drinking more water than 40 ranches combined. And their HOA, run by Vivian Stroud, decided they needed a pipeline straight through my cottonwood grove to feed their country club expansion. They didn't ask. They didn't negotiate. They filed for private condemnation and mailed the notice to a P.O. box I'd closed 2 years earlier. By the time I found out, survey stakes already burned orange across my pasture. I tried reason. I walked into their marble lobby pipeline schedule posted on the wall and told Vivian she couldn't desecrate my grandfather's grave. She smirked and said, "We followed every legal channel, darling." Her attorneys backed her, and the judge denied my injunction because they'd already started digging. By the time I got home, the backhoe was parked on the cottonwood roots. The foreman handed me my grandfather's plaque, bent and mud-caked, and said quietly, "First scoop. I'm sorry." Then he turned away because orders are orders. That broke something in me. I sat in my truck staring at that broken bronze, wondering if I was insane to fight. It wasn't just losing a grove of trees, it was losing the memory of the man who taught me everything. And I started doubting myself. Maybe my wife had been right when she left. Maybe I really was stubborn to the point of stupidity. Maybe one rancher couldn't stop a machine that big. For a few dark hours, I thought about selling the place, running back to Denver, letting the past die in the dust. But then I noticed the survey map taped to my mailbox. Fine print, water source Clearstone Reservoir. Allocation Fremont Watershed District. Not owned by Ridgemont. Managed by contracts. I knew water law like some people know baseball stats, and suddenly the fog cleared. If they wanted to play hardball, I'd play harder. I dug through old bylaw amendments, yellowed paper buried in county files. And there it was, any private entity using more than 500 acre-feet per year must renegotiate every 10 years or prove conservation infrastructure. Ridgemont was sucking 620 acre-feet annually for that golf course. Their last renewal 2014. 10 years overdue. In water law, that's like letting your driver's license expire. You lose the right to drive. They'd built an empire on borrowed water. And it got better. I found meeting minutes from the watershed board. Every vote green-lighting Ridgemont had come from one man, Dalton Stroud, Vivian's brother. He never disclosed it. In Wyoming, that's not a small technicality. That's grounds for a state ethics investigation. I called my old colleague Hector Ruiz, and he just went quiet on the line before saying, "Jesus, Marley, that's a wire we can cut." So I started cutting. I partnered with Iris Pendleton, a hydrologist who'd spent decades fighting over-allocation in drought basins. She modeled Ridgemont's water theft, showing ranch wells dropping 18 inches a year while cutthroat trout barely survived downstream. I fed everything to Ty Booker, an investigative reporter. His headline hit like dynamite HOA Waters golf course, while ranchers' wells run dry. The story went viral, and suddenly I wasn't just the crazy rancher yelling about pipelines. I was David standing against Goliath. Ridgemont struck back, of course. Hate mail, death threats, fences cut a lawsuit demanding $250,000 for construction delays. One night my hay barn burned to the ground, accelerant residue still smoking in the dirt. I knew Vivian was behind it, even if the sheriff shrugged like always. Hector offered to walk away, said maybe it wasn't worth dying for, but by then I'd already found the ace. Antler Creek, a tiny tributary feeding 35% of Clearstone Reservoir. The water rights dated back to 1904, senior to Ridgemont's allocation, and they were up for sale. 80 grand. If I bought them, I'd control the tap. Senior rights always win in drought. I drained my savings, sold off part of my herd, launched a GoFundMe. Ranchers I'd never met mailed me checks. Strangers wrote, "Make them pay." Piece by piece, I scraped together the money and signed the deed. The creek was mine. Ridgemont's lifeline ran straight through my hands. Vivian must have felt it slipping because she showed up at my ranch in her white Lexus sunglasses flashing. Offered me $150,000 cash and an NDA to walk away. When I refused, her smile turned cold. "You have no idea who you're dealing with," she hissed. "I've buried people for less." Then she drove off, dust cloud trailing like a curse. My hands shook not from fear, but rage. By August, the Watershed Board scheduled a public hearing. Word spread fast. On the night of the meeting, the community center was packed, ranchers in worn boots, Ridgemont residents in golf polos, cameras flashing. I sat in the back, Hector at my side, Iris and Ty ready to testify. Vivian sat front row with 3 attorneys acting like she already owned the room. The board chair opened with Ridgemont's lawyer. He claimed the renewal lapse was just a clerical error, that 200 families shouldn't lose water because of one bitter woman seeking revenge. Vivian took the mic, crocodile tears in her voice. "My neighbor's children will suffer because of her vendetta." Then Hector rose calm as stone and called our first witness. Iris projected her hydrology model on the screen showing Ridgemont guzzling more water than every private user combined, while fish and ranches died downstream. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Next, rancher Gil Navarro testified that Vivian offered to buy his land, and when he refused, his taxes spiked 32%. 3 others stood and said the same. Finally, Ty took the floor with documents proving Dalton's secret family tie. He read every vote Dalton cast, every expansion approved for his sister. Cameras flashed like lightning. The crowd erupted. The board chair slammed his gavel, then turned to Dalton. "Did you disclose this relationship?" Silence. Dalton's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping on dry land. Finally, he stood pale and sweating and walked out. The room knew it was over. 15 minutes later, the board reconvened. Their decision cut through the noise like a rifle shot, Dalton's resignation effective immediately. Ridgemont's allocation suspended until they installed $1.2 million in conservation systems. And my 1904 senior water rights officially recognized. The gavel dropped. Vivian shot to her feet so fast her chair toppled, flipping off reporters as she stormed out. The photo hit Reddit within the hour. I sat still, Hector's hand on my shoulder as the noise swelled around me. For months I'd been painted as a villain, a terrorist, a woman out to destroy families. But in that moment, everyone saw the truth. Vivian hadn't been protecting her community. She'd been gambling with their future. And she lost. The lesson: never underestimate the one person who knows the rules better than the people trying to break them.